In front of a palace, skeletons fight against the humans. The humans have gods who can grow trees which separate the army and can heal human soldiers when they fall. Inside the palace, the Lord of the Underworld is watching this battle on a ball of fortune while a maid informs him that the 6 heroes are gaining an offensive. Next to her, a wolf-looking creature mentions the defeated members of their team. The Lord of Death then calls upon a wand to fight when the animal mentions that he is the only demon lord, to which the demon lord accepts defeat from the humans, but says that he will get revenge in 1,000 years when he will rise again for this throne. The scene then changes as 2 girls stumble upon the palace, now worn down. They are investigating. The white-haired girl, Celia, reports back mentioning that they are on the 7th floor of the palace. The blonde-haired girl, Regina, tells her not to get carried away. They stumble across fallen statues. They see that a door is active and that there's still magic there. Regina tries to open it, but it doesn't work, and he mentions that they can burst it down. Celia pulls out her phone to understand the language in front of the door. Regina goes on to explore on her own while Celia tries to figure this out. Celia touches the door and the door suddenly opens. The path to a purple crystal starts getting lightened with purple fire as Celia walks in with a gun in her hand. She goes on to help the person there. The same thing changes to a flashback where the Demon Lord has found someone called Rosalia. The Demon Lord mentions that a millennium from now a human child will be a vessel of his powers. Back into the scene, Celia shoots her gun to the stone, but the stone doesn't move. Suddenly the stone breaks into pieces and Celia falls to the ground. The Demon Lord looks at the girl and mentions how beautiful she is. Just then Celia opens her eyes and she's confused to see a child in such a place. The Demon Lord is shocked to see himself reincarnated into a small child. Demon Lord has returned to his form as Linus the hero. The Demon Lord mentions how utterly ridiculous this form is. Celia asks if the Demon Lord is feeling better and then tells him her full name. Celia mentioned that she's a swordsman in training at the 18th platoon at the 7th Assault Garden Excavator Academy, and that she's only 15. She asks the Demon Lord what his name is and he answers that his name is Leonis. Celia thinks that it is an adorable name, giving him the nickname Leo. She asks how old he is and he mentions that he is 10 or so. Celia mentions that someone might have kidnapped him and put him under a void, to which the Demon Lord is confused as to what to a void is. A change of scene, we see Regina walking down a hall when a purple crystal breaks through the wall, and she pulls out a gun. Celia goes on to explain what a void is. It is a sort of amnesia. The Demon Lord asks what calendar year it is, the Holy God calendars. She mentions that if it has been 1,000 years ago it would have been the year 1447, but in the unified human calendar when it's been years 64. The demon god is caught on guard by this. Celia hears Regina through her earphone as the building around them starts to crumble. She activates her gun as a monster steps out. Demon Lord watches as Celia tries to fight off the monster. He tries to use his powers but falls on his face. Regina shoots this monster. Demon Lord is confused about what kind of weapons the women are using. Regina fights the monster as Celia grabs Leo and runs out. A crystal falls in the ground and releases another void beast. Celia pushes Leo to run as she pulls toward ready to fight the void. The Demon Lord is ready to cast a spell, but she pushes him to the side, getting slashed in half as the Demon Lord wonders why she did this. The Demon Lord turns around and calls upon his wand ready to kill the beasts. He casts spells killing them. He mentions how in his current body his magical powers are 1/3 of the strength they were when he was the Demon Lord. She looks at the girl and says that the life of a human does not matter to him, but he must pay tribute to Celia's soul as she risked her life trying to save him. He casts a spell on her and the blood around her starts to go back in her body. Celia opens her eyes slowly and coughs. Demon Lord oversees the original on the other end and wonders how high-tech technology came to be. As soon as Celia wakes up, she gives Demon Lord a hug, saying that she's so glad that he's alive. Regina runs to Celia and then asks if she's hurt. She also asked if she had to fight the void, and she's confused because when she looked up the void was already gone. Finally, Celia, Regina, and the Demon Lord drive away on the motorcycle. The episode opens with a flashback to 6 years ago, where in the 3rd Assault Garden, a dragon with bats attack and inside reside many humans, praying. There is a young Regina and Celia who are terrified and holding onto each other. Young Celia comforts young Regina, saying that her dad alongside with her mother and sisters are fighting and that they've never lost before. Just then, the room's alarm turns on. Young Celia tries to tell young Regina stories of her father, giving her books to try to distract her and make her feel less scared. She also talks about her education and how Celia should join her. The young girls laugh with tears in their eyes. Young Celia runs to want to help her parents, but Regina stops her. The two girls fall asleep when the door opens to a broken home. Young Celia falls on her knees apologizing to Regina for lying to her and telling her it's all going to be okay. The flashback ends and in the present, Regina, Celia and Demon Lord ride on a motorcycle to the city and the Demon Lord is shocked at the city. When they arrive, Demon Lord learns that this city is not an island but it's a mega float. This surprises the Demon Lord. Celia reports back saying that they've found a refugee boy and he has a holy sword. Regina is shocked at Demon Lord's holy sword and Celia mentions that he saved her life and now he's a part of the Excalibur Academy where they are provided with a certain standard of living in exchange for them enrolling in the academy. Demon Lord agrees but he has to go through an examination. He enters the bathroom and is upset because his goal was to become the Demon Lord and bring humanity to its knees, but now they have evolved a lot in the technology world and also the fact that he is stuck in his body. He calls upon the maid and the beast and they are there to serve him. He informs that the reincarnation magic didn't work properly, and the beast mentions that he has been turned into Leonis the hero as he once was before he became the Demon Lord. The Demon Lord mentions that the island they are currently on is artificially created and is named the seventh, meaning that there are 6 other ones. He tasks the beast and the girl to investigate this and find out the strength of the human army before he forms his demon army. Meanwhile, the Demon Lord is going to infiltrate the human military education factory. The two then disappear and the Demon Lord goes out and his examination begins. 2 metal rods examine his body and the doors open for him to enter. The Demon Lord walks through and the room turns red due to mana suppression. He walks too hesitantly, thinking about how he needs to be cautious. He achieves a card and through scanning it, Celia can schedule the Demon Lord Holy Sword inquiry, as when someone who enrolls in this academy they have to register the properties of their holy sword, and once that completed, Demon Lord will receive an official student ID. Demon Lord thinks to himself that he will trick the humans. Celia keeps his student ID. The Demon Lord examines the city and mentions how peaceful it looks. Celia gives him a tour of the academy. Then, Celia explains that the Holy Sword inquiry will take place tomorrow at the outdoor training grounds. The group of students walk towards Celia and mention her battle scar, belittling her skills. Celia takes the Demon Lord's hand to walk away, but the blonde-haired boy, named Rhodes, stops her, asking about the Demon Lord's identity. Rhodes laughs and mentions how there is no way that a boy such as the Demon Lord can hold such powers. Rhodes offers her a place in his platoon, but when Celia refuses, he grabs her by her hair. The Demon Lord casts a spell which scares Rhodes, and the spell forces him to kneel to the Demon Lord. The Demon Lord threatens him and he calls forth his holy sword. Just then, a black-haired girl, called Fine, walks towards him and mentions that this isn't allowed and that he is in the area of the female dorms. Rhodes puts his holy sword away and leaves. Celia thanks Fine and she turns and talks to the Demon Lord. She mentions that she will arrange his uniform. Fine mentions how there was a strange sort of magic that was picked up and apologizes for not being able to join the mission. Celia seems to be very tired and the Demon Lord mentions that she might be running out of the magic, and she and the Demon Lord then walk home. She stops in front of a mansion where her platoon lives. They see Regina sleeping and Celia explains that after using holy swords, the user is exhausted. The Demon Lord showers, and Celia helps him use shampoo and asks him to join their platoon even though she does not have her holy sword. Before the Demon Lord can say anything, Celia falls to the ground and the Demon Lord touches her leg, producing a tattoo, and suddenly Celia's eyes turn red and she bites his neck. The Demon Lord tells her the truth, that he did not heal her with his holy sword and so he did not save her, and she is officially dead. The episode begins with a flashback from 2 years ago. Celia fights robots, trying to call upon her holy sword. Rhodes stops the training and mentions that all of this can be fixed if she joins his platoon. Regina walks towards him and uses her holy sword to get Rhodes to back away. Celia is upset that she cannot activate her holy sword. Then in the present, Demon Lord watches as Celia rests. Celia wakes up confused as she was in the bathroom a few minutes ago, and the Demon Lord tells her that he carried her to the bed using sorcery. Celia asks who he is and the Demon Lord tells her that he has been reincarnated. He explains how his magic is based on sorcery and not a holy sword. He also mentions how she's the strongest queen to ever exist. She is a vampire queen. This is when Celia tells the Demon Lord about her past. When she was 7, her hometown was destroyed by the Void, and her family was killed in the process as they were all holy swordsmen. The Demon Lord and Celia head to the cafeteria, where Celia comments that she doesn't have an appetite, but she wonders if she can still digest food. The Demon Lord pulls out a gold coin, and Celia doesn't know what it is. She mentions that he can't use that as the assault garden only accept credit as payment. The Demon Lord is shocked. A blue-haired girl is stopped by 2 men. She mentioned that she doesn't have any cash on her and that if they can wait a week as her paycheck is going to come. They ask for her CL9s as collateral, and she's very quick to slip them off their feet with her support and mentions that she is a student there. Her name is revealed to be Sukuyu, and the two men were the bouncer at the casino she was at yesterday. Sukuyu is the attacker of the platoon, and her village was also wiped out by voids, and so she has dedicated herself into killing them. The Demon Lord's inquiry has now begun, as a teacher is there to determine the type of holy sword he possesses. He calls upon his wand, and when asked about the ability, he mentions that it depends on the situation. His first task is to kill the 4 robots in front of him. As soon as the teacher looks up from her iPad, she notices that the Demon Lord has already killed them all. She's very confused, as this does not replicate a holy sword. Rhodes shows up and says that he will be the one handling the inquiry from there. He sent 4 of his platoon members to fight against the Demon Lord. Rhodes mentioned that if they lose, Celia would have to join his platoon. Celia and the Demon Lord fight against the 4 members. Celia fights with a sword, whereas the Demon Lord uses sorcery. Rhodes uses his holy sword and stops Celia from moving, knocking out her sword from her hands. As Celia is frozen in time, the Demon Lord is left alone to fight against all 4 of Rhodes' platoon members. Celia resists Rhodes' magic to protect the Demon Lord, which unleashes her holy sword. She moves and breaks Rhodes' holy sword. As soon as Rhodes' sword is gone, his platoon members also lose their holy swords. Back at home, the Demon Lord tells Celia that she is one of his minions. She asks the Demon Lord to make her even stronger. They have a feast as Celia has attained her holy sword, and for Leo's induction into the 18th platoon. Celia mentions that she doesn't feel like she's reached her full potential. Fine asks Leo for his bio data, and Sokuyu asks where he will be staying. Sokuyu and Fine both invite him to their respective rooms. Celia says that he should be in her room instead. The registration is eventually completed in Fine's room. The Demon Lord catches sight of a map, and Fine gives him her tablet to examine it. Once the Demon Lord is able to enter the iPad, he examines the map of the new world. The Beast appears to mention that the technology that the humans have created is brilliant, and that he will continue his investigation. Sherry returns and she brings him donuts. She mentions that no one in the city knows about the Demon Lord nor about the war that took place 1,000 years ago. Sherry asks if he has turned Celia into his minion, and he says yes. Celia steps out to ask for help from the Demon Lord. The scene changes, and there are divers who check for void outbreaks. Something catches their eyes, and they notice a strange tree-like creature that's attached to one of the chains. It cries Linus before attacking all 3 of the divers.